I'm not going to say Tudor watches my videos, but Tudor might watch my videos. Today, I want to talk about the Black Bay chronograph that was unveiled the first day of Watches and Wonders, the 7th of April, 2021. In my opinion, this is the star of the Tudor lineup, the new models that they have announced and unveiled. And I'm actually more excited about this than any other watch brand that I've seen so far, including Rolex. And we're going to talk about those other models in the future. But why am I so excited about this? Why is this a powerful, potent release? Well, let me take a little bit of a victory lap here around the bases. Let me show you guys my receipt. Back in January of 2020, I did a video where I encouraged Tudor to make this exact reference, this exact design, and these exact dial configurations. And in that video, I laid out why I think from a feasibility point of view, it would be a wise production. And then from a product point of view, why it's just so on point. It's a great idea, concept. It's attainable. It's quality. Yes, it's kind of an homage to what is widely considered one of the most sought after and hard to get watch designs in the world, the Rolex Daytona. But it's more of an attainable version that is done within the same sphere, right? The same company, so to speak, and done in that born to dare method or way that Tudor is so good at, right? When they take something and they just do something a little bit out there that is bold, that is interesting, and many times works very well. So let's talk about this new release. And I don't want to say that Tudor watches my videos. They could very well have planned this years in advance. But I look at my Photoshop mockups back from 2020, my suggestions, and then I look at the new release from Tudor, and I look at the fact that nobody predicted this, Nobody was talking about this. And it kind of makes me wonder, like, hey, maybe Tudor does watch my content from time to time, maybe, or maybe it's just Tudor related content. Maybe so. Maybe they watched me and they went, hey, this Bruce Williams guy, I think he's onto something. I think this design would be a great addition to the lineup and it would sell well. Let's put it into production. I'd like to think from a very, distanced, oblique angle that I had something to do with this release. At least I'm claiming ownership, right? I made that video. I made those suggestions. And I look at the two side by side, my Photoshop mockup and what Tudor unveiled. And man, it's almost exactly the only thing that Tudor didn't do was a matte ceramic bezel insert that I suggested. And you know what? From a production standpoint, it makes sense for them to do anodized aluminum. And then when you have a heritage-rich design, I think it's also appropriate from that aspect. So, it is a bit of a missed opportunity, but on the whole, man, I'm excited. This is awesome. When you have an idea and you share that idea, and then one of your favorite brands actually, puts it into production a little over a year later or a year and a half later, that's pretty awesome. So I've had a real fun day today. I've had a good day. And let me run this idea through you guys. I've often thought that when you really want to succeed at a company, you need some psychos that work for you. You need some savants that know the references. They know the history. They know the competition. They know what watch enthusiasts want. They know what the most enthusiastic of the consumer base is looking for. I've often thought that, it would be wise for a watch brand to liaise with someone really into the industry that eats, breathes, sleeps, thinks about watches almost all the time. And so I guess I'm putting my name out there. Tudor, if you're watching, I know you might have watched that other video back from 2020. If you're watching this one, I've got some really great ideas that I think would really behoove you to listen to. Let's have a conversation. My email's in the description. You can call me. We can do a Zoom. We can do a FaceTime. But let's talk about where I think I could help you go sales-wise. I could help you go as a company without adding too much strain to the production process. I think I could be a real benefit to the company. But shameless plugging aside, let's talk about this release and why it's strong and where it could improve. So overall, I like the concept. I like the size. People often say, I think people that don't actually own this watch, then it's too clunky, it's too chunky, it's too thick, right? It's too bulky. I don't think that's the case. I recently reviewed the steel and gold variation, and it's thinner and trimmer than the original stainless steel version that had the stainless steel bezel, and it worked really well. The overall height as I measured with my digital calipers was 14.6 millimeter, and 2 millimeter of that overall height was the bubble sapphire crystal. So the dominant slab style case that I think looks beautiful, it has that retro design, that look. It's thin, right? 12.6 in overall height. So it ended up wearing very well on wrist. And I really liked the presence. I liked the style. I liked the bicompact's layout. I liked the tactile action of the chronograph. This is a column wheel chronograph that is, I guess you could say, taken from Breitling. It essentially is the Breitling B01 that, in my opinion, Tudor upgrades and makes a little bit better. So let's talk about this. This is the MT5813 movement. We have a free sprung balance. We have a silicon hairspring as opposed to a ferrous alloy made by Niverox that Breitling utilizes. And I like silicon because it is impervious to magnetic flux. And then the other nice thing is this balance has variable inertia adjustment, which essentially is small screws within the balance that a watchmaker can adjust to regulate the movement and adjust the inertia of the balance. And I think that is more sophisticated, more reliable than Edachron regulating pins, which you will get in the base Breitling B01 movement. On top of that, this is a column wheel chronograph. It has 70 hours of power reserve, and it is a certified chronometer. So I look at this movement, and arguably it's not very pretty to look at from an aesthetic point of view, but it's got all the specs. And then I look at the price. And I'm not taking into account the bracelet with the ceramic ball bearing closure. I'm not taking into account the matte textured dial or the applied markers or the quality low light luminescence from Superluminova. I'm not looking at anything else. I'm just looking at the movement and I'm looking at the price. And then I go and I look at the competition. I look at Breitling specifically. I look at the B01 found in the Navitimer, in the Chronomat, and in the Premier. And in those watches, those stainless steel watches, the retail price is $9,000 or $8,000 depending on the model. And then you look at the retail price again of the Tudor, which is $5,000, almost half the price. And it's really pretty apparent where Tudor brings the punch, the value punch. And it's almost a shot across the bow at Breitling, like, hey, we're doing an arguably more sophisticated and upgraded version of your own movement, and we're charging almost half of what you do. I mean, that is pretty gutsy. That is pretty cool. And that's something that I value as a watch enthusiast. So just from a value point of view, from the movement, not taking into account anything else, I think this is really on point and strong. And you look at other competitors. You look at the El Primero, you look at the Moonwatch from Omega, and a lot of times you're going to be spending more than that to get those watches, and you can make an argument that some of them are better or more iconic, excuse me. But man, this Tudor, this is pretty great. And the design DNA going back decades, I think is strong. This to me is like a working man's luxury chronograph that's attainable, that's strong, that overall is just really exciting. So on top of everything, I mean, it's a great model, and I pretty much called it, or I asked for it, and I take some pride in that. I mean, that's pretty exciting for me. I'm having a good day today, guys. So where is it falling short? Where could it be improved? I think there's a few areas, and so Tudor, I guess if you're listening, really consider these points. One, 90% of the people that I talk to that watch my videos are just not a fan of the rivet style bracelet, the faux rivet style bracelet. I understand why you're doing it. You know, from a design perspective, the heritage perspective, it's just not coming across. And I think maybe it should just be reserved for certain models and likely not this one. I think it's a mark of a strong company to recognize when they've maybe not made the best decision and rectify that. Come out with a better bracelet. And then also take the time to examine the clasp. I really like the clasps on Tudor. The ceramic ball bearing closure, the fit, the adjustability, I think is really strong. The thinness, the comfort. But let's take my watch, for example, that I'm wearing, the Rolex not GMT, the Hulk, the Submariner. This carries the glide lock, and it's fantastic. And you look at other competitors, you look at Omega, you look at IWC, Glashütte. I mean, there's a ton of brands doing similar concepts where you have on-the-fly adjustability. I think Tudor could do a great job. I think you could do a great job, Tudor, if you're watching, at engineering something in future generations of clasps and bracelets that has that feature. Watch fans would love it. Very practical. Now, the last thing, this might come down to personal preference, but I would enjoy anti-reflective treatment on the sapphire crystal. I think the dial work that you do is lovely, right? It's very sharp. I like the texture. I love the snowflake hands. And being able to see those details to a higher degree of clarity would be a great thing. You don't have to do it with Rolex. You don't have to do it with every model, but I think on this model, it would be really good to do that. So I would advocate for anti-reflective treatment, losing the rivet style on the bracelet, and then maybe looking into an adjustable clasp for this specific model. If you want to go the extra mile, yeah, you could do matte ceramic more often as opposed to anodized aluminum, but I recognize there's always a cost to benefit ratio when it comes to these things. We don't want to build a watch that is just, competing with a Rolex in terms of retail price. I know you want to meet a certain target. That's important. And overall, I think this watch is just great and I'm over the moon. So what am I going to be doing? Well, I know some of you have been contacting and commenting and reaching out to me saying, Bruce, I remember when you called this. I remember when you made this video. Tudor should send you some watches to review, or better yet, they should send you a couple freebies because you helped basically design this watch or call this watch or help this watch, come to fruition, even if it is from just an idea standpoint. And here, I appreciate that, guys. I appreciate you going to bat for me. That's pretty cool to read. But at the same time, I want to put my money where my mouth is. I think that speaks more than, just getting a free watch or something like that. So as soon as these are available to purchase, I'm going to be buying the Panda version, the silver opaline dial. There's something about the silver. I don't know what it is. It's great. And correct me if I'm wrong, but when it comes to sport watches from Tudor, I don't remember seeing a white dial previous. White is always usually reserved for the more dressy, the 1926, the glamours, some of those. I don't think I've seen it on a sport piece, so it makes it a little bit more special. I'm going to be buying that. I reached out to my authorized dealer and I said, hey, as soon as you get these, I will be first in line. I can't wait. I'm so excited. I showed them the video that I did asking for this watch, and they thought that was pretty cool. My AD that lends in watches that I buy Tudor from is Brent L Miller in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It's a small brick and mortar family-owned authorized dealer. So hopefully, as soon as they're available, I'll be buying that Panda version, and then eventually I'll be buying the reverse Panda because I've got to have both. I've got to have both in the collection. It's just so cool. I pretty much called this, or at least I'd like to think that I did. So anyways, guys, I've kind of rambled on long enough. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm interested to hear what you think. Do you like this new release? Do you think it carries the value punch? Is this a shot across the bow of Breitling? What do you think about this? And what do you think about that concept of brands working with or hiring the savants, right? The psychos of the watch world that eat, breathe, sleep, and drink watches and horology. I think that would be something good to keep in mind, at least with some brands. And yes, I am throwing my hat in the ring there. So thanks for watching today. I'm looking forward to hearing your guys' comments and the suggestions, and we will be doing videos on the other awesome releases from Tudor, from Rolex, from other brands. And I'll be doing a live show here, I think on Sunday, where we're going to be specifically talking with a few other guests about these new Watches and Wonders releases. So thanks for watching today, and see you real soon.